Okay, so let's get started. Last we left, the group had, for the most part, completed the tasks for the lizard folk. They essentially had to find some kind of artifact. Really, all they thought of it was a stick.
What you doing?
Now they've been given places to sleep for the night, and it's morning.
I'm gonna go change.
What would you guys like to do?
Fresh up.
I thought we were past this point already, because I had already summoned my dog.
You're out. Did we meet up with them at the border? I don't remember.
I think I'm pretty sure that we all met up right before we ended.
Yeah, we met up.
So I guess we're just walking back to the Warforged village then.
Pretty much. Now we're walking and walking.
Yeah, that's my shtick. Shy guy, we are walking towards the Warforged village.
Oh, sorry, wrong key. I pushed the wrong key. I changed mine so it wasn't something on alt, and I forgot for a moment. So, you guys don't actually have to make dex checks for some reason. And you guys make it to a small clearing. It's dry land, few trees nearby, nothing too big. And it's getting close to dusk. You guys want to set up camp or try going through the night?
How many of us have dark vision?
I think all of you. Anthony, what was that perception for?
Try and listen and see if anything's nearby.
You hear a bit of rustling in the bushes near the edges of this smaller clearing. Nothing big. Well, you also have the dire wolf next to you, so.
Yeah.
So, who wants to set up camp first? Or if you guys want to set up camp, that is.
The 23 in perception makes me think it'd be a good idea to set up here.
What about the others?
If everybody's gonna set up camp, might as well.
Time for bed.
And another thing, the bard's been unusually quiet.
It's a miracle.
Do not look a gift horse in the mouth.
The downside is he just conks out as soon as you guys make base and he eats.
I
So-
guess I'll take first watch then.
All right. We're gonna roll perception. first few hours pass, nothing really nothing, you don't notice anything out of the ordinary. A couple of bushes rustle, meaning animals are darting by. Until about towards the end of your watch, you hear something in the distance. Not so much hear as feel. Sort of low rumble. Almost like something's dragging across the ground.
I jab Elizabeth awake.
Huh? How you want, monkey?
There's something out there. Gonna go check it out. And I go
Go ahead.
towards my gut feeling. Stealthing.
All right, roll stealth check. You approach the edge, and you don't see anything.
Is the ground like, looks like something's been dragged across it?
Not in the immediate vicinity of the clearing's edge.
Do I still
Then
have
you
that
hear
feeling?
off in the distance as you look up and see a few of the larger trees in the distance start toppling over. And do this this large scream from something before it gets cut off, and then nothing. The rumbling starts up again, but it's getting progressively weaker.
I back off and head back to camp.
Okay.
How you find?
Well, something big just got killed. I think. Anyway, your turn and I go to bed.
Elizabeth? Yeah. Necro, also roll a wisdom save. You find yourself taking out the letter. Well, oh yeah, you just...
I destroyed it.
Well, all right. You get this pit in your stomach. Almost like you're being watched. Looking around, you can't find anything, but all throughout the night, even after your watch ends, this feeling of dread doesn't leave you. It's unsettling. Your mind keeps wandering back to what the letter said. And the implications of such information. Now, you have a pretty good idea who would want you dead. But even for you, that's a somewhat dark thought. Given your reputation, well, that's really going somewhere. Eventually, your watch comes to an end. You were far too distracted to actually watch anything. So you didn't notice that a small simian-like creature ran in and stole off with the fire pit. Somehow.
Fuck you guys. This is my campfire.
And when you turn around at the end of it, you suddenly come to realize that the fire's gone.
Wait, what?
It's the dead of night, and there's no fire. There's a small pit where the fire was, but the wood, everything inside the fire, it's gone. Bit of ash. Nothing else.
I'll try to find more wood to start a new fire.
Roll nature check.
Yeah, Necro, tell Mini Prometheus to go fuck himself.
Okay. You do find some, but one sec, gotta roll something on my own. All right. You had to venture out a bit to find wood that was viable, that wouldn't smoke too much. Surprisingly, a lot of the wood on the edge of the clearing is quite drenched. You finally found a dry tree and cut it down for wood and for future purposes. When you went to collect it, though, as you turned around, you're met with a large white deer. When I mean white, this is snow white. Like there's not a single pigmentation of color on it.
Albino.
Essentially. Except it looks to be glowing almost.
Can I roll a Arcana if I know anything?
Roll religion. You have no idea what the hell this thing is. All you know that is that it's staring at you. Softly close.
I'll stare back.
Roll the Constitution save. When you stare into its eyes, the world starts swimming for a second. Everything feels fluid. There's almost no anchor for your body. For a split second, it almost feels like the deer and you switched places. You could have sworn for a second you thought you were staring at yourself. But it passes. As you shake the bleariness from your head, you look up and the deer's gone. Look down and there appear to be 4 scorch marks in the grass, hoof-shaped. Nothing else, though.
Yeah.
You gather up the wood and head back. Light a fire and you wake up Dervona.
Wake up.
Anthony,
Yeah.
your turn for watch. Roll perception. About halfway through your watch, you see these small monkey-like creatures come into the clearing. Except instead of fur, their upper body seems to almost be scaled. Her bottom half is furred, but the top half is similar to a monkey, but it's scaly, not furry. There's a small group, about 3 or 4, and they seem to be staring at the fire. Looks like they're about to make a move, but then you give them a death glare. And they all
Give me
scurry
one.
off quickly.
Give me 1 second. My kid's trying to strip off her diaper.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, no, the weird monkey things don't steal the fire. They're chased off with you by a glare. With a glare.
Good.
Though, you do notice another thing. About almost towards the end of the watch, where you can start to see the faintest hints of sun poking out over the skyline. Not even really that, but just the sky is starting to turn to a reddish color on the horizon. Everything seems to stop. Noises of bugs and smaller animals running about silence themselves. Then all that's left is the fire. Still cracking. You still hear the crack of wood as it snaps under the heat. Gentle roar of it as it continues to burn on. You see the sparks start to float up, and then they freeze in midair. Then you turn back and notice a figure is sitting at the fire. Wearing a hood and a cloak. You can't see under the hood. They're huddled close to the fire and almost seem to be staring up at the sky, like they're expecting something.
Should
I
you
don't-
get lost?
The figure turns to you and you see this woman. You can't pin down race. It's almost bizarre. It's human, but at the same time, not. The features are all just a bit off. You've never seen any humans like them, at least. She doesn't pull back the hood, but you see this one piercingly blue eye. It almost seems to glow, but you can't see the other. It's then that you realize there's a massive bandage covering the other eye. Her skin's this pale, almost bone white tone. The brief looks at her shoulders and neck show these very bloody bandages covering them. She just looks at you. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't react. Just stares. Then reverts her gaze back to the skyline. The horizon where the sun will rise. What do you try to do?
I'm gonna try and see how bad those wounds are.
Roll. How are you going to try to do that?
Compare it with past medical experience. Let's face
Roll
it,
a
it's not the
medicine
first.
check.
It's not the first fight
Yeah.
she's been in.
Well, it's not the first battle wounds. You can tell someone nicked something pretty bad if there's that much blood staining the bandages. That or the bandages are really old. The problem is you can't tell from what you see. It's almost like the color's constantly shifting. First, it's almost this grimy brownish black. Then shifts to this almost pristine white. But what always seems to remain are the blood stains. They never change in color, consistency, or texture. They always seem to remain the same. You also notice that the blood seems dry, like it's been there for a good portion of time. You also see that there are thin lines of blood seeping out of the bandage over her eye. She's either been tortured very badly by somebody, or she just got the crap beaten out of her and is lucky to be alive either way.
I'm gonna get closer.
Roll an animal handling check. You managed to... The moment you start taking a step towards her, she almost flinches and seems to almost be ready to run off, but you stop for a split second and just stay still. Eventually, her eye goes back to the horizon. You start slowly inching closer. Eventually, you're only about foot and a half away from her. You notice that the cloak she's wearing is hanging off of her frame. There's very little of a body underneath it. You can't see anything, but the cloak's tattered, torn in some places. It's very it's been very well worn. So it's has these small patches on it, places where obviously someone stitched it up. You also can make out faint traces of blood spattering it too. The front, the sides, the back. This cloak's just been through hell and back. You also notice she's shivering slightly.
I want to try and gently reach out and use lay on hands.
Okay. You try. Roll another animal handling check. You can't get close due to the fact that the moment you're about to touch her, but then Her head darts to look at you, and she immediately scoots away about 3 feet in a single push, actually. She pulls her. She's now on the ground, but as before, she was sitting on this small, sort of long rock that was sticking out of the ground that she was using as a bench of sorts. Now she's sitting on the ground and she's tucked her legs up to her chest. She stares at you for a few long seconds. Then goes back to staring at the sky.
You look hurt. I just want to help. And I'm going to try and get closer.
Roll another animal handling. She allows it, but she seems on edge. She's definitely aware of your presence, and she's definitely off-put by it. You also can see that you can actually see her arm now as the cloak shifted enough where you can see a small portion of her arm, the hand, and about up to the elbow. There's little to no skin shown. It's either bandages or scar tissue. All that you can really see are the fingertips, but they're immaculate. Fingernails look healthy. Her skin seems crystal clear and is actually quite healthy looking, though still a bit pale. Everything below her wrist, though, is either this very nasty looking scar tissue or bandaging. The bandages are, again, rather old, as they seem to have absorbed quite a bit of blood and dried.
I'm gonna try and offer her my last ration.
Sees the food. You can almost see her nostrils flaring as she seems to be taking in the smell. Then, before you can even notice, it's gone from your hands. Her hands have both flown up to her face as she's essentially cramming it in her mouth as fast as possible. She utters something in a language you're not familiar with. Before slowly getting up, walking over to you, till she's essentially standing over you, and she is tall, about 7 feet. Though what you can see under the cloak now as it's parted is that were it not for the bandaging, she'd be wearing no clothing. But it seems the bandaging covers almost every portion of her body. Her legs are long, and you can't tell under the bandaging, but there's almost no meat there. It's practically the bone. They're covered in bandaging, again, with heavy blood evident.
What is it with you and emaciated people?
Oh, what is it with you and attracting weirdos? This is all dice rolling on my part. Before you can even really react, she reaches out with one hand, touches a single finger to your forehead, utters a word. Roll the Constitution saving throw. She touches your forehead, and you feel this almost spark pass through her finger into your head. She says something that suddenly resonates. You realize, oh crap, as even you can figure out the word sleep. As you're falling over, you barely see her quickly moving into the tree line, looking back, and then moving forward, and everything suddenly seems to move again. Starts moving again. You suddenly hear noises and other such. But you fall to the ground and you're out. You wake up what appears to be a home. Looking down, you're not you. You're the girl.
Goody.
The room you're in is rather pleasant. Wooden floor. You're in a bed, actually. It's only slightly raised off the ground, but it's comfy, nice, and feels at same times almost feels like the only bed you've ever slept on, and yet the comfiest bed you've ever slept on. It's a weird feeling. Like, this isn't the only bed you've ever slept on, but at the same time, it feels like it is. Then, there's a small window above your bed, above the head of it. Looking out, you see rolling fields, lush trees, in the distance, small farms. Well, small from a distance. You know that they're actually vast and extremely expansive, somehow. As you walk out of the room, it's a very odd experience for you, because at one point you're thinking, how do I know this layout? Yet at the same time, you feel as though you've walked it hundreds of times, that you've memorized it somehow. You come into a small, what you assume to be kitchen and living area. As you see, there's a small fire pit for cooking, a basin for keeping water to wash, table set. There's small stools set, and the table's actually set very low. Plates have been set out, but no food. You hear a noise outside. What do you do?
Is there any silverware on the table?
Yes. What you remember to be a fork, or at least what looks like a fork. But at the same time, you know it's an eating utensil that essentially is a fork. There's also knives, but they're they've been dulled. Not much use if you're looking for a weapon. But it's better than nothing.
I'll grab both.
You grab
Each.
both.
Yeah.
Where do you put them? Or do you just hold them in both hands?
I'm just holding them in both hands.
All right. You do, and you... What do you do?
I want to go investigate.
All right. You come to the door, and it's a sliding door. You, again, feel as though you've known this, and it's odd that you're surprised by this. But at the same time, I've never been here before. It's overall a weird experience, but you forget that feeling as What you hear outside is nowhere near the idyllic, the peace that you've known inside. You hear what sounds like screaming, something burning, hooves clattering against stone and steel scraping against it as well. As you press your ear against the door to try to get a better sense of it, you also smell something burning. This acidic, almost nauseating smell. You've been around fires before, but this is, ugh, it churns your stomach. What do you do?
You said it's a sliding door?
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that shit open.
You throw it open and a wave of heat just blasts you full in the face. It's oppressive, almost unbearable, but you push through. As you walk out, you see the house immediately across the small stone road that runs through the entire town is ablaze. It was slightly larger, 2 stories, and it is currently a massive inferno. You don't see any signs of the family that lived there. You step out into the road and you feel your foot step in something wet. Look down and it's red. A dog lies dead, but a few steps in front of you. Its belly was ripped open. Its head mangled beyond recognition. The dog belonged to the family next to you. You look up and you see a city, massive. You recognize it as the capital, but Dervona, you recognize it as a city similar in style to the one of the Warforged, but much larger. It almost seems to form a pyramid of sorts, leading up to a collection of 3 massive houses, palaces almost. Plumes of smoke rise from it. Roll perception. You manage to hear it before it gets too close, but you hear what sounds like hooves against the stone again. Turning around, you see this massive warhorse clad in iron armor, almost made to look like a lizard, as the armor is scaled in appearance, layered. Sitting atop it is a figure that looks human yet isn't. It looks like the warriors you've seen riding in and out of the capital as of late, but it's different. This one wears the armor of one, but this insidious red fire billows from where the eyes and the mouth should be. Its arm is mangled black, and blood drips from it. It holds in its hand a spear, and it's charging straight for you. You have a few seconds before it gets to you. What do you do?
I'm gonna wait and try and duck out of the way at the last second. see if I can get
Roll
a
a
handle on that
dexterity
spear.
save. Roll a dexterity save. You managed to, but you didn't see the figures behind it. As these three other figures, soldiers as well, and seemingly afflicted by the same malady as the one on the horseback, rush you, swords and axes drawn. You don't have time to react as the first one plunges it into your stomach. A searing pain that almost immediately, this searing, horrifying pain clutches your stomach, making you want to scream before another jams their sword into your throat. The axeman circles behind you and sinks the axe into your back. What's keeping you up at this point is them. You hear the horse stop. The soldier on horseback dismounts, come around to face you. Die, heretic. Before the spear plunges into your face and it goes black. You wake up with a shout. Rainer and Elizabeth, you couldn't wake Dervona when you woke up. She seemed dead to the world. Without any way of waking her. You noticed there was a small smear of blood on her forehead. No wound, just almost like someone had just dabbed a paintbrush on their head. On her head. Did you try to wake her up, or were you just leaving her alone?
I left her alone.
Rainer?
I tried to wake her up.
Right. Dervona, roll a d20 and we'll see what happens. All right, you do not wake up swinging. Instead, you wake up and immediately your hand goes to your face. The left eye. Rainer's bent over you, shaking your hands, tightly gripping your shoulders. He looks concerned, worried. Dervona, are you trying to hide the fact that you're visibly shaken, or are you too tired? Are you too tired to actually try?
She'll try.
Roll a deception check. Rainer,
Do I even have to try?
for the sake of sanity, roll perception.
Oh,
Or
I
yeah,
thought-
insight, sorry. No, it's insight, my bad. I keep mixing those two up for some reason. You
I
immediately
see your
tell something's
soul.
off. Not that far, but you do notice a small bit of blood leaked from Dervona's tear ducts. It's dried, but there. Also, you notice the fact that she's visibly shaken by something, but she's trying very badly to hide it.
You okay there?
Yeah, just get out of my way. I have something I need to do.
your direwolf, Devon, is actually like sitting next to you and kind of just like whimpering. He walks over. Is it a he or a she? Did we establish?
We didn't establish.
Want to establish the gender yourself, or do you want me to roll a d20 and just decide?
You know what? You do it.
All right.
It'll be more interesting.
Call odds or evens?
Even.
Odd. It's a girl.
Okay.
She walks over to you and she's like visibly concerned about you and licks your face clean of any of the blood that got left.
Give me 1 second. I have to double check something about that ability. Okay.
So, the young tea woman actually meets your gaze, Devona. She stares for a second before waving it off. She knows better than to ask. So, you guys want to have a quick breakfast before going, or do you guys just want to get moving right away? Devona, you actually find something on your person. Small. It's a small doll. It's made of cloth and feels like it's been stuffed with something. Cotton, maybe? Straw? It's hard to tell. It's definitely made with features meant to look like that of a woman. A girl. Written on it are a few symbols that you can't make any sense of. Mainly the chest and the back.
What? I don't remember putting any gear on the direwolf. So I'm assuming it's essentially just bare right now.
Yeah, it's essentially just the direwolf.
I'm going to use my telepathic link to it and basically hold out the doll to it and try and see if it can get anything. Because, I mean, it does have an intelligence of 6. It can understand one language that I know, which I have established as the deep speech.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see if I can get anything.
It's from that woman. I don't know what it says. The direwolf actually moves a bit and sniffs the doll for almost baring its fangs. It smells of death and decay.
Keep an eye out.
For what?
Her.
The tall, weird woman with the bandages?
Yep.
What do you want me to do to her?
Just tell me if she comes back.
You got it. So, you guys want to? So, what do you guys want to do? Rainer, you also notice the fire looks a lot different than what it was when you took first watch. The wood should be long since burned out, but there's still a few logs left. Also, it's smaller.
Do I notice Raider looking at the fire?
A bit, yeah.
I tell him about the creatures that kept eyeballing it earlier.
Do I know of such things?
Roll an animal handling check.
For knowledge on animals?
Essentially, yeah. You remember very long ago, your tribe once hosted a small, you think, circus troupe in exchange for knowledge about the outside world. This was when you were very young and before your group had kind of gone in an isolationist bent. You remember seeing something similar to the creatures in cages, and one that seemed to be perched to one of the circus members' shoulders. Now, you never got a name for them, but you know for the most part, they're fairly passive, though they are extremely smart, almost to the level of human. They'll steal things from other travelers if they think there's some use of it. Typically, though, they'll steal things like food, medicine. You've never heard of one stealing fire, though. That's a bit odd. Also, the ones you ran into were much smaller than the ones, as those were about the size of a cat. These were about the sizes of bulldogs, almost. So, you know they shouldn't be much of a threat, but then again, it might be an entirely different species. But you do get a general sense of behavioral patterns and that they're not very hostile. They're more just extremely curious and somewhat sticky-fingered. So, you know.
In other words, monkeys.
Yeah, but a bit different. Also a lot smarter. And that none of you know this, but there are some theories that these creatures could possibly be the next sentient species to arise. No one really knows, though. So, there's that. But what do you guys want to do?
Yeah, we or get going. And we're standing, staring at each other.
I don't know how fast these chickens will mature, so. Or did we cook them?
You cook them.
Okay, then I'm gonna check and see if it laid any more eggs.
Laid one.
I'm gonna leave it there.
All right.
Well, you guys want to get moving?
I'm waiting for you guys.
Elizabeth, the Yanti woman standing next to you. I've been waiting since dawn. You warm bloods are really slow.
I only need 4 hours of sleep. I'm just lazy.
Fair point.
So we're walking.
Yeah, you're walking, and you guys actually don't need to make dex checks, but Elizabeth, roll a perception check, and I'll tell you what you get. That feeling from before has finally subsided, but you do occasionally find yourself looking over your shoulder and at the surrounding tree lines for something. But you don't get any major sense that there's anybody. You don't get a sense of anything malevolent or big in the tree line, which, if you're certain of what's been going after you, that's where they'd be. But for the most part, things are all right. Dervana, the young tea woman, Dee, actually trails back and starts walking in tandem with you. What were you dreaming of?
Getting stabbed in the face, apparently.
Tell me about it.
I will then proceed to tell her the whole thing.
Do you tell her about just the dream or the woman as well?
All of it, but I keep my voice down.
All right. Rainer and Elizabeth, you don't hear much of what's actually said. You guys are just ahead, just trying to make sure nothing gets a jump on you.
20.
They hung back about 10, 15 feet. And they're talking at a whisper, essentially. The auntie woman, well, Rainer, you do get snippets of the conversation, but it makes essentially no sense to you. You think, here's something about weird chick, bandages, face touch. That's all you get. But, Giovanna, as you finish up, the auntie woman, And you saw this woman eat?
Yeah.
Well, that rules out spirit.
Yeah. I was betting either fiend or goddess at this point.
Well, I doubt that. Fiends would most likely try to kill you, but this one didn't. And I doubt a god would be that straightforward.
Well, let's face it, what fiend doesn't want to brag that they corrupted somebody? And as far as gods go, you never know what to expect with them.
True, but most fiends aren't much for the long game. At least the lower ones. Most higher ones don't venture out unless they're summoned. And the ones that do usually traipse about the mortal plane, well, they're short-term thinkers. As for the god thing, what kind of god would appear as a near-dead woman?
I could think of one that would appear as something close to what I saw, but definitely not from here.
You warmbloods have bizarre gods.
Yeah, well, wasn't bizarre before another god tortured him.
No, as in just your whole culture. And I say that knowing full well that my kind worship a giant snake, but at least we have tangible proof that it existed.
Yeah, well, everyone has to believe in something, right?
True. Well, that city. You should be able to recognize it if you saw it again.
I won't, but she will. And I point at the wolf.
The wolf just like lazily moves one eye to look at the two of you before moving back, still looking straight forward.
You know, unless you expect me to recognize like two distinguishing features, one being that damned eye and the other being all those bandages.
Well, maybe you're onto them trying to tell you something. You did say this woman you remember getting stabbed in the throat, right?
Yep.
Well, that would limit anybody's ability to speak.
No, she made noise. And she put me to sleep with a word.
In a language barrier?
I didn't understand her. That's for sure.
Well, best to just put it out of your mind, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna keep the wolf keeping an eye out. Best not to get caught
Whatever
off.
makes you sleep better. And effectively the conversation ends. Guys come to a small creek. There's a small rock wall that appears to have has a small water puddle cascading down it into what's basically just a very small river. It's only a river in that it's a bit deeper than most. About foot and a half, and it's actually moving at quite a good pace, but the water's actually remarkably clear.
And we're walking.
Yeah, you guys are well, I say this due to the fact that there's actually kind of a cliff wall or a rock wall standing up about 10, 20 feet. And this is the lowest point you could find. This one only extending up about 12 feet.
Didn't we climb a cliff wall to get to this area?
Yeah, but that one was about 80 feet high. This one's about 12 again, at least at this point. Mind you, you could probably find where this tapers off to a slope, but that might take hours. And it's about midday, 12:30 to be exact.
I'm gonna look at the direwolf and ask if it thinks it can get itself up.
In response, you actually see the wolf bound past and leap the 12 feet.
Fair enough.
To answer that, yes.
Well, then I guess I know where I'm going.
And I'll just fly up.
All right. Rainer? How do you want to try to get up?
I'm just gonna try climbing.
Okay.
What would that be? Acrobatics?
Yep. You do. Though somehow, even though the Yanti woman was actually just standing still when you guys were moving, when you started moving, she somehow beat you up.
Yeah, I'm oddly not surprised by her getting up first.
Actually, Rainer, when you get up there, the Yanti woman offers you a hand.
That offers me a hand?
Yeah, offers you a hand up.
I take it, I guess.
You're surprised at how easily she manages to pull you. As the moment you grab her hand, you're immediately yanked upwards and set down rather gently on the ground. The bard also managed to get up.
Why am I not surprised you somehow got up here before me?
Well, my body's just overall superior to yours, and I have much more training in acrobatic feats. Also, I'm far stronger, so there's that.
And humble.
And she hits herself less.
I embrace my flaws. I never said I was that. Anyways, we might want to get moving. It'll be night soon, and I prefer not to camp on a ledge. Rainer, you said you had a passive of 20?
Yeah.
You notice her eyes dart towards the ground below. As in the ground where you guys just were, and more towards the tree line. You look and you notice this figure just barely peeking out of the shadows.
Does it look like the thing that transformed from the bear that we kicked its ass?
No. It actually looks like a human, except covered in scales. And you can't see its lower half. And oh god, it's a snake. And it's gone. I'd like to get as far from this point as possible. Anybody else?
Yep, I second that.
Yep.
Vámonos.
And you all start moving at a bit of a faster clip. Manage to get a bit further along before you make camp. Find yourself essentially camping around a much larger tree that's a bit bigger than most of the others around it. It's got a nice sized trunk. And there's actually a small sort of indent where the ground dips in and you can actually see the roots of it. And it makes a small little makes a small little makeshift hut, big enough for all of you to fit down there, even the direwolf. Whoever's on watch is going to be walking around the tree, is going to be stationed above, outside, watching the tree. Who takes first watch?
I will.
Dervana? Roll perception. Find yourself.
What?
You find yourself moving around the tree, and you see something drop. This woman, well, rather, you look up and the same woman's sitting on one of the branches, about 10 feet up. It's a lower hanging one, but it's fairly thick. Obviously strong enough to hold her, but then again, you think a twig could. She's looking at you.
What are you?
She speaks. It's a few sentences, actually. It's, again, a language you have no idea what it is, but something you notice. Her voice is shifting. Pitch, tone, even the components of it always seem to shift. It's almost like her voice is changing. Or rather, it's weird. It's like hearing three people talk. As eventually the voice goes back to what you originally heard last night, but it's just a weird sensation to hear.
I'm gonna cast detect good and evil. Done playing these games with this damn thing.
Echo has something to hide.
What?
The moment you cast Detect Good and Evil, he disconnected. You get a faint sense of undead. It's hard to tell. It's sure not aberration, celestial, elemental, fae, or fiend. But it's hard to call it undead either.
I'm gonna take out the doll.
She actually gets a small smile on her face. As before, there was the look of almost a scared animal. Now it's almost like a little girl. Unbridled joy and excitement.
Well, if you want it, come and get it.
Suddenly the doll starts speaking.
What?
You were holding the doll in your hands, right?
Yeah.
And it's not so much speaking as more, you hear a voice in your head.
Oh, goody.
It was never hers to begin with. It's also a way for her to keep track of you. First, you don't know where the voice is coming from until you notice some movement in your hand, and the doll's waving at you. Yeah, I'm not sure about what I am.
Well, that rules out me asking for answers.
Neither of us are. And at this point, the woman drops down, and she is silent as she drops and lands without even a sound in front of you, and once again is standing there.
I'm gonna keep a little more on guard with her this time. But I am still going to try and get closer.
You don't need to make any check. She does. She allows you. How close do you want to get?
Close enough to attempt to lay on hands.
So essentially within 3 feet.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I can tell you what she did last night.
You mean besides creep into camp, sit by a fire, eat my last ration, and put me to sleep?
Well, it's more about that last part. The whole put you to sleep thing. It was more sharing.
Well, sharing is caring, but hopefully next time she doesn't care so deeply.
No, it's more she shared a memory of hers and you shared a memory of yours. You didn't lose anything, but as far as I was told by her, it's sort of a way she can stay alive. Trauma, pain, loss, anger, negative emotions. It seemed, from what she said, that's the only way she'll be able to stay full. And, well, here.
She would love a friend of mine.
Well, don't know about that, but you're the best one.
How sweet.
Yeah, well, think about it this way. You get to learn about this place's history. In exchange, she gets a meal. You don't lose anything. You get a good night's sleep. And, well, you may learn something from her.
Yeah, so far I've learned to wear a bandana next time she comes by. She leaves quite the mess.
Yeah, well. Anyways.
I take it you'll only get this chatty when she's nearby?
Well, partially. Wasn't really sure about you. But she says you're all right. Just don't let your dog use me as a chew toy.
I wasn't planning on it. Don't give me a reason, though.
Well,
you know, perhaps give me a warning before the next time she tries to whammy me like that.
Okay. Well, I want to get down there where everybody else is sleeping, unless you like the idea of sleeping out in the middle of the cold.
Fair enough. But I'm putting the dog on guard.
The dog sniffs the doll for a bit, sniffs the woman. She actually slightly recoils. Sort of gets to a crouching position where she bends at the knees and just like sort of sits next to you as you're getting ready to lay down. She again touches your forehead. Do you try to fight it, or
No.
you go to bed? This time it's much shorter. Dream, you're in the same body. Okay, well, one sec. Well, while he's gone, we'll get to the others. Mark, you actually have a dream with a sword again. This time, you're in the tomb again.
Okay.
Sword's actually floating next to you. So, you wanted to talk? Or
I honestly don't remember what you're referencing.
hey, I just remember the last time we talked, you said you wanted to meet up again. I just woke up, so yeah. Um, is this awkward?
Well, it's not the first time this has happened to me, and probably won't be the last.
Are you talking about the other woman? The scary one that kind of peeps in on your dreams sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about her. Is she someone we need to kill?
I don't think you could, even if we tried.
Well, not with that attitude.
That, and I'm pretty sure she's got my soul and my lady friends.
Girlfriends?
Sure. I just gotta do 3 things, and then she's out of my hair.
Does those things involve killing things?
I don't know. The first one's to find a wooden sword, and she won't tell me what the other 2 are until I finish the first one.
Well, okay. So, you want to get some practice in, or you just want to talk?
No, we can practice.
Okay. And for the sake of it, roll a d20 to see how well along you get with the sword. It's awkward. You're really off your game. So, yeah. And after about 15 minutes, sword you actually have the sword. You know, you're really not into this, are you?
It's still a work in progress, I guess. I haven't used a sword in a very long time.
In a very long time or ever?
Well, I tried, and then I decided to break things with my fist instead.
That sounds like you either have problems or
No.
you have
I'm a
a
monk.
very violent way of solving things.
No, I'm monk. I fight with my fists and my legs and staffs and whatnot. But I was
I think
trained a
I've
little bit.
I think I've had an owner that met a few monks. Though they usually broke boulders. And when they hit people, they sort of disappeared.
Monks that punched people and the monks disappeared, or the people disappeared?
Anyways. Well,
Can we? I don't know how much time goes by while we're dreaming, but can we try one more time?
actually, I'd like to talk a bit. Mostly
Alright.
because I've sort of been rooting around your memories.
Oh.
You've got a lot of pent up rage against this guy, don't you?
Yes.
But you're not sure if you want to kill him or not.
Yeah. I'm just sitting down with my head in my hand.
You get the head in one hand and the sword in the other, and you feel the sword like occasionally jerk around as it seems to be trying to emote. Or something, you don't know. Anyways, you look up and well, also this other girl. Oh,
Quizzical look.
no, this was in response to what Anthony typed. Okay. Gonna be back anytime soon, or
And we're sleeping.
yeah. So
There it goes.
all right. So essentially, the conversation goes. He's more just trying to get a feel as to who you got as to your general opinion of people, because everybody he's known is dead.
You're looking through my memories. Aren't my emotions in there or something? Wait, what? How
Yeah.
much have you exactly seen of my memories?
Most of it, at least what you acknowledge.
What do you mean what I acknowledge?
Stuff you forget is kind of hard to look into.
Oh,
It's just, you ever look at something through dirty glass?
yes.
Basically like that. Looking at it through very, very bizarre features there. You can barely make anything out, and it's more you get a rough picture more than anything. Emotions, on the other hand, well, I was never that good at getting those. At least not from memories. I got that more through action. Put me in a fight between two people, and I can almost perfectly guess what's going on between them. Though my emotions are just, it's just weird. I'm a sword, and I'm made for one thing. Emotions are typically not in the real range of what I'm supposed to do.
Are you supposed to have a personality too?
Always kind of been a question on that. One day I just woke up. It was actually not all that ceremonial. Just remember waking up in a camp. Guy who was my wielder at the time went out to get some practice in, and then he got killed. Though I'm not certain on the time between the training and the killing thing. Ever since then, I've just been awake. Try never really to question it. Just live with what I got. You know?
You've been through my memories, yes? That's what you said?
Yes. Why?
How does that look to you?
I see it through your eyes. Except I'm not as attached to them as you are, so I can notice things that you might have overlooked.
Can you go to that moment before I was knocked out? Did I see something and not realize it?
You blacked out a lot of the bodies. Also, there was another person there.
What?
Well, not person, more small, weird-looking thing. Looked like a person.
What do you mean?
And at that point, you find yourself in a burning village.
Oh fuck! I'm getting a flashback in my dream.
No, it's just forcing you into it. And it's this moment frozen in time. You see the fires leaping up from the burned huts. You do see a lot of more bodies than you remember. Charred, gored, a majority of themselves being outside their bodies. But you notice two figures that are standing. One is the person you remember. The other has this...
When you say person I remember, who you mean?
The man you thought, your sensei's brother,
Okay.
or master's brother, is the man you presumed dead. And the other figure is definitely humanoid. They're wearing armor. They seem to want to get out of there, but seem to only be staying because the other person says something to them, or is saying something to them. Point is, see a symbol on the chest plate of their armor. Looks like an eye with 3 scratches across it, diagonally.
I look around at the scene.
Looking around, you actually notice there are quite a few of these other figures. Armored. They all have the same symbol on their chest plate. There's even a few of them dead around the camp, around the place, around the hut as well. Though a funny thing, after you get about past 2 huts, you notice the world just drops off. Looking back, this is the furthest point that you can still see where you were. And actually looking around, you notice things are extremely blurry still, at least around here. Getting closer to where you were, things get crystal clear. But beyond that, you count 5 of these armored figures throughout what you can find, throughout the small scene that you have before you. They all seem to be fleeing, though. One's missing an arm.
What are they fleeing from?
Nothing in particular. They just seem to want to get out of the burning village. Some of them are carrying things, people. But they're all smaller than the one standing next to the man. They all seem intent on leaving. You can't see their faces, though. In fact, those that had their backs to you, when you walk around to their fronts, it's just blank. No discerning features. Nothing, no features at all, actually. But they look similar enough from the back to the other one that you guess they're all from the same group. Well, the sword actually pops up again. It's still in your hand. Well,
I didn't remember any of this.
like I said, time can do things to the mind. I should know. I sat somewhere for who knows how long, and I started to lose things. Lose it, actually.
This is trying to calm himself down from the emotional shell shock. This is very useful, thank you, but this isn't the moment I was referring to.
Well, this is your mind. You can try and point us to the moment you're going to.
I'm gonna try to point myself to where that girl was. Like the last clear memory I had.
Of. There's a lot of girls in your life.
No,
dude.
no. Of this day, I was looking, I
Oh.
was helping, I saw the girl, I got hit in the head, which apparently made me forget all this shit. One of the reasons for my phobia, sir.
Oh, okay. You sure you want to do that? I can go about your mind willy-nilly because I really don't have any emotional stakes. You, on the other hand, there's no telling what you can do.
I know. But if I forgot this much, maybe I...
It's not that you forgot. It's just that you didn't want to notice. Think about the implications here. This means that whoever burned down your village betrayed you to somebody else. Some other group. And a group that apparently some people tied to some kingdom or something. I don't really care. Can't even find out themselves. Meaning that
I
they're
need to
pretty
know if I made a
powerful.
mistake.
Okay, well, on to the other memory. And vision goes black and comes back into focus again. And you look, notice, it's actually, you're back at it. You're at that moment again. You didn't notice a few things. Remember exactly why you had this phobia. You were watching the woman die. Looking, it's those same figures from before, the ones wearing the armor. Except they seem to be covering themselves in a cloak of some kind. You can't see their faces, but you can catch small glints of the armor underneath the cloak. Looking back, you can actually see this wooden stick raised above where you assume your head was. You can't see who swung it, though. This unsettles you greatly.
I got her killed.
Wouldn't put it against you. Think of it this way. That other asshole got her killed.
And Rainer is starting to hyperventilate.
You all right? Buddy? I'm not getting a response from you.
I Okay, he starts to come down.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Nice deep breaths.
What happened wasn't my fault.
Well, yeah. Probably so. You might have that fear thing, though.
But what happened to her was...
Not your fault. You still saw her get the bad end of a spear, though. That's gonna haunt you for a while. Should I stop talking?
Yes, please.
All right.
Rainer is gonna walk over to, I assume, the still image of the girl getting impaled.
Yeah, you go over and you see it hasn't even dawned on her yet what's happening. As the spearhead's just starting to protrude from her stomach in the front.
So basically, everything's fine. And
You saw her the moment before she realized she's getting impaled.
How does her face look? Like,
There's
what emotion
this
was she expressing before the impalement?
joy almost.
I kneel down and I bow my head and I basically apologize and pray for her soul.
I don't know what you did there, but you're all right. I feel you might want to go back to bed now.
One more minute.
Yeah, well, I'm getting tired, so you got about 30 seconds.
That's fine. And I just stay there apologizing and promising to make it right.
You drift off and go back to sleep. Come morning, things
That's
all right.
Shit, man.
So it inadvertently has helped you start on the road to get over your fear of women. Elizabeth, throughout the night you were awoken by Rainer crying in his sleep for some reason.
What the fuck is wrong with you? And I throw some dirt in his face.
Rainer, you're awoken by dirt on your face. And Elizabeth kind of looking a bit pissy at you.
Why did you do that?
You were crying throughout the night. You know how annoying that is?
The D chimes in. Yeah, it was slightly irritating. I had to hold her back from gagging you.
More like burying you alive.
We settled on just throwing dirt at you.
Thank you for that.
So we've kind of lost half the party.
So should we just call it here for the night?
Yeah. No offense to you guys. It's just kind of can't really do it. I can't really do anything with just two of you.
Too much plot progression needs to happen.
Wait, what happened to Anthony?
His kid is apparently going through either a tantrum or some shit is happening.
That's why you give him NyQuil.
Anyways, see you guys on Tuesday.
Alright.
Well, not you, Mark, but
No,
Wait, no.
I'll be here Tuesday. I just won't be
you
here
won't just be here
Sunday.
next week. Okay. Well, see you later.
So yeah.
All right.